Chip Roy.
Glenn, how are you, sir?
Well, probably about as good as you are. What are we to make? First of all, what the hell happened?
Well, first of all, I am good because I have faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and we're all on this planet for a brief spell.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, this too shall pass. This country has gone through a lot. We've got to figure out what to do now to change its course. You and I have talked about it repeatedly on this show with your listeners. We are going to have a vote today led by, obviously, it's not just Matt Gaetz. Let's be clear. There's at least 6 or 7, maybe 8 guys who reflect the frustration of the American people, who believe the status quo is unacceptable, and I 100% agree with them. We have a tactical difference on timing. I don't believe that you yank the coach at the beginning of the fourth quarter. You play the coach through the fourth quarter, and to me, that's sometime through into December when we continue the play that we're trying to do on the Ukraine issue and on the spending and the appropriations bills that we all asked to get done. Yes, by September 30th, but in truth, that's only happened 4 times in 50 years of my lifetime. I want to play this out. That being said, let me just tell you, if you'll indulge me for 1 minute,
Okay.
maybe 2. This is the speech that I read to the Republican conference this morning. I said that no matter what happens with the speaker at the moment, if nothing changes, we will be campaigning on March 31st with a leading candidate who has a number of variables, just to put it mildly. We will be campaigning on March 31st with the following: an extension of the debt ceiling until January 25 of $4 trillion, done with Democrats. A Ukraine funding of an additional X billion dollars, because that's what the Republican establishment wants unless we fight it. Probably well over $50 billion, Glenn, if we don't fight it. Unoffset, unpaid for. $16 billion of disaster package that was just passed on a CR, not paid for. Even if we do the appropriations bills, go to conference, and in the 50-50 chance we don't get jammed and rolled with an omnibus bill, maybe we get the 1% cut to spending that the debt deal got done. Maybe. But we blow past it with $100 billion of supplemental spending. The Inflation Reduction Act remains fully intact. The IRS remained 80% expanded and intact. We will likely not have impeached Mayorkas. It's 50-50 at best that we will impeach Biden, depending on what happens with the evidence. We will not have full COVID reckoning. We will not have passed a 10-year balanced budget. The DOD will likely still be woke and no accountability for Afghanistan. The DOJ will likely still be weaponized. And importantly, the Senate will try to confuse everybody with a shiny object, crappy border security package, link that to Ukraine and say, we did it, we secured the border, and we'll get $50 billion or $80 billion of Ukraine funding because we secured the border, and it'll be garbage. The only thing standing in the way of that being the truth and us changing it is a small group of us willing to try to fight. I will not throw my friends under the bus who want to call the question. I will stick with my tactical position that I'm not going to currently today agree. I will vote to table the motion because I would give a month to go figure this out heading to Thanksgiving, because we've been talking through these things. But we're going to proceed either way, Glenn. We're going to lock arms and figure out how to fight and change this, because what the list I just read to you is unacceptable.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. He won't be removed today, and nothing will happen in the next 45 days. And then, coincidentally, I don't know if you've done the math, but 45 days brings us right up to the holidays. So we're right there at Thanksgiving and Christmas, where everything always goes and is buried by Congress at that time. So, if you don't get it done this next time in 45 days, it doesn't happen. And then you're going to have to replace him. And here's my question. With whom? What is the game plan? Who is it that you are going to, not you, but the good guys that are standing up? Who is it that they're going to get? Because there are people now afraid we could get a Democrat in there.
Well, that, of course, was the argument last January. I, again, do not support the tactic for the reason you just described, because I believe we need to force the conference to a reckoning. Because let's be honest, the speaker reflects the conference. When I read the thing I just read to you this morning in the Republican conference meeting, crickets. Crickets. The vast majority of Republicans are totally fine with increasing spending, kicking the can down the road, saying, oh, the next president will save us. Oh, we need to win the Senate. Oh, we need a bigger majority. Look, I understand the difficulty of the moment. So do you, Glenn. Neither you nor I expect us to get every single thing we want in this divided government. But at some point, you have to pick a major fight and mean it. Democrats do that all the time.
All the time.
When are we going to pick a major fight and mean it? If we're going to throw down on the border, and that means accepting some Ukraine spending I would prefer not to, then let's pick that fight. If we need to kill all dollars to Ukraine, and that means we're not going to address the border fast enough, okay, let's pick that fight. I can't get a clear signal from our leadership as to what path we are going to choose to go win these fights. So, to answer your question, I'm staying focused on the policy. As we speak this morning, I'm having conversations with senators, people here, trying to figure out how to make sure we define the border security the way it needs to be defined. Had meetings this morning on what we can do to constrain Ukraine spending and make the case for why that's not in our best case international interest. Make the case for why we need to constrain spending in the appropriations package. I was on the Rules Committee last night, holding the line. A lot of good things have occurred this year. The border bill is phenomenal, right? The bill we put together for Limit, Save, Grow was phenomenal until it got abandoned. The National Defense Authorization Act is conservative. The DOD appropriations bill is pretty strong. But all of that goes out the window if you don't finish the job. So my position is finish the job and we hold accountable. But if they end up vacating today, well, we're going to have to go find a speaker.
So tell me what the speaker's plan is. I mean, you know, he says, well, 45 days, and then we're going to pass all these things. That's such bull crap. I mean, I wanted him to prove me wrong, but I don't believe it. We're going to come down to the end of the 45 days, and they're going, oh, Republicans want to shut down the Congress, and they're going to fold again. What's his plan?
That is my problem, Glenn, and this is what I raised at the conference this morning, and that is the question I continue to force. At this point, my tactical choice would be to do what I was doing yesterday and the day before and last week after the Saturday decision on the 45-day CR, which is sit down and say, Mr. Speaker, we have got to get this done before Thanksgiving. The Democrats, want Ukraine funding more than anything in the world. And we Republicans want border security, and we want to hold down spending at a bare minimum. So what are we going to do to make that happen? He seems to have bet his speakership, if he even survives this week, on accomplishing that objective, holding Ukraine to some level that matches the conference's perspective, spread out over time, with border security attached, and use the appropriations process. Let me give you another example without giving away individual names of it at a private meeting. An individual who is very conservative / more populist libertarian made an impassioned speech for why our processes and openness is a massive change compared to Boehner and Paul Ryan. But the American people don't care about that, right? I mean, they might care a little, but they want results. But this is moving the Titanic around. The reason you all know a lot of what's happening is because we've opened it up. We've exposed it. We're telling you in real time. We're forcing votes. We're having amendments. But we're not getting the results we want because our conference, frankly, isn't strongly conservative enough and the Senate sucks. So we're trying to manage through that process and get to a result where we actually cut spending, actually hold the supplementals, actually reduce or restrict, constrain Ukraine, actually secure the border. I haven't given up on that, even though you and I are both as cynical and frustrated as you would expect at this moment.
So, Chip, first of all, I don't want you to feel my frustration is pointed to you at all, because I prayed for you this weekend thinking he has got to be just beside himself, because I know how hard you're working on this. Have you been struggling at all with, am I being duped? Am I being duped? Am I being, because Because I know I would if I were you. I would probably do exactly what you're doing now because it seems reasonable to me. But I feel like I would be saying, yeah, but I mean, why should I trust them?
So you shouldn't, and I don't. I trust no one for the most part in this town, particularly people who have been here for a long time. We are in the process, in my opinion, of breaking this town and creating coalitions in which we can trust each other. I'm talking right now to my colleagues that I disagree with a little bit on their timing and tactics because I respect what they're trying to do. There are colleagues that I have who don't respect what they're trying to do. They think it's about showboating or grandstanding or fundraising. It's not. Yeah, they might grandstand and they might raise money. That's politics. But at the end of the day, it's because they're tired of watching the same old and the status quo. Again, Glenn, I want to reiterate to all the listeners out there who are going, well, Chip, why won't you join them? Well, I might at some point. The issue here is how do we navigate from right now to a place where we can go try to get a victory for the American people? Our country can't wait 16 months for Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or anyone else to get in and shake things up in the White House without massive damage. So for me, I want to get a victory for the people, not just a political victory. So that list I read, crickets. Your conference, your Republican conference, I want every listener out there to know, while they're moving in the right direction, at the end of the day, their reflex is still to be totally okay with increased spending, totally okay with, well, we might have to deal with the border at some point, totally okay with more money for Ukraine because Putin bad. And so I'm just telling you, you get the speaker that reflects the conference. Some of us are trying to shift that, and it doesn't happen as fast as you or I or your listeners would like.
Well, it doesn't sound like an extremist to me. It sounds like a constitutionalist and somebody who is trying to think it out. When you say crickets, I just want to make sure I understand. Not because they were shocked by it, like, oh, crap, we're in trouble, but because they didn't see a problem with it.
Well, I would state it this way. In fact, one member got up to the mic and said, we can't address those things until we have the White House. To which I say, poppycock. That's just not true. We can't do them all. Look, Glenn, I mean, I can't possibly say you and I, with the 221 majority, can kill Ukraine, fully secure the border, gut spending to the levels that you and I would do it, fire Mayorkas, impeach Biden. Like, I get it. But can we get one of those damn things? One, right? Give me an actual spending cut that I can go be proud of. Don't give me more bull crap supplemental spending. Actually secure the border and don't give me, you're like, well, it's got to be a bicameral, bipartisan bill or we'll never get it through. Got to get a gang of, no, kiss my ass. You want Ukraine funding? Then give me the border. Okay. All right. You don't want to cut that deal? Then fine. Zero out Ukraine funding. Like, give me a win that we can go to the American people and said, we fought for you and we won. That's what I'm trying to tell the conference. Some are there. I got a whole lot of text messages in that room saying, hey, I thank you for saying that. But you know what? That still doesn't get us there because the conference has to be moved. You guys are moving them. Don't give up. Hold the line. But don't roast everybody in a stupid social media, attack because you don't agree with the tactical play, right? Chip Roy's a rhino. Fine, call me a rhino. I don't give a damn. What I'm saying is don't go after Gates for being a showboat and don't go after Chip Roy for being a rhino because we disagree on the tactics. Well, you've got a block of people from the 20, and it's growing, who are fed up. And that doesn't get you much, but it gets you a lot when you talk about we're building a momentum here. Don't lose faith. We're years into this mess in Washington, and we don't have the White House and we don't have the Senate, and we had 221 in the frickin' House. So we're trying to move the needle. I am not going to lay down on this. I'm not going to allow them to roll over us with Ukraine funding without getting border security. Ukraine funding has got to be cut. We got to offset supplementals. These are the fights we need to have right now, and we got to keep fighting.
Chip, I'm out of time. I just need a simple answer. How many votes do they need to oust him today?
I don't 100% know because I don't know how many Democrats are here, and the denominator matters. Okay. I think you're going to get, 7 or 8 who will be who will vote no to table, and then we get to the motion to vacate, we may be in a position where we're choosing a new speaker. We'll see what happens in the next 3 hours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chip. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Chip Roy.